Hello friends! It's October 24th on the calendar and we're getting started. I closed with a profit for those who were with me. Showing booking, yes, it closed. And in fact up to 100. Here it fell just a little short, or rather it closed at the moving stop before reaching the take profit. Is it possible to enter again? Probably, but I think there might be another retracement, and right here. So something like this. And here you could try again, but for now I'm staying out. Aiming for the lower boundary. Right here, that is, for my take profit that I wanted to hit. So for now, I'm out of position, but at least I made a profit. Let's move on. About 300 bucks. So, you saw the entry prices and so on. McDonald's is at break even. Minus 0.07 at the moment. By the way, the market has opened. What else is there to add? McDonald's didn't hit the stop loss. Good. It reversed with an engulfing pattern. Good. Right now we're at my entry point. That's it. For those interested, this could be a decent entry point. Again, this is not any kind of recommendation. The stop is written, ad is written, and that's it. So nothing in this video is advice. Here too, it still hasn't reached yet. It just stayed sideways for a week before the stop. Stop. For me, it's still quite far to 100 here, but let me remind you, there's a pretty strong, unusual resistance here. Maybe you'll feel like shorting such stocks. But when I see divergences, I really like it. So I can't pass up on this, even if it ends up being a losing trade. No big deal. We'll just wait for new signals. Because positions like booking, for example, make up for all those small stop losses that happen. And actually, not just booking. Look, T-Mobile, I talked about it last time, or the time before that. Well, I definitely mentioned it last time. I think it was actually the time before last that I talked about it. By the way, here you could even move the stop, I think, right now. My entry is at 3.36%, currently in profit. Well, no, let's not move the stop yet. There was an update here. Ideally, the day should close below 219, and that would be good. There should be a strengthening of the movement, a continuation downward, acceleration, and so on. Let me remind you, in my opinion, there's a head and shoulders pattern here, and there's still potential for both, so that's why there's no take profit set here. Nothing has changed at all with coin. It's basically standing still, just fluctuating a bit. Robots are making money in the sideways market, shorting and buying back. So anyone who wants to join, check out the articles. It's called Matrix on Bybit. I don't really know what else to add here. My forecast is the same, and I keep repeating it. They took out this liquidity, then there was some pullback, and now the first target is at 95, and there are even lower targets as well. All my targets are marked. Oil, for example, is at resistance in a descending channel. Let's take a look at the weekly chart. You know that I haven't been joking about oil, I haven't shorted it, and I haven't encouraged anyone to do so. I was considering going long, waiting for the right time to buy, but I haven't bought yet. In this case, why didn't I buy? Because here I just had a signal, just an alert. I was at the gym, playing paddle. And that's the downside of manual trading. Robots handle everything. They don't sleep, they don't go to the gym. They're always in a good mood. That's why the overwhelming majority of my assets are traded by robots. Just a little side note. So what should we do with oil? The signal was missed. So the next target is 64. Of course, you can't buy here at the resistance profile. According to my strategy, you definitely can't. I don't know about yours. Take a look. The profile here has been stretched since February 25th, a little over half a year. And the number 6,670, where we've hit a wall, that's the resistance. So the pullback that would interest me, the absolute minimum, the super minimum, is 6,550, but ideally I'd like 64. So from 64. That's where I would start considering reversals and buying, so I still don't consider shorting oil at all. Well, as for gas, what about gas? This gap closed for me. More or less at break even there. Either a big loss or a big gain. I honestly don't remember exactly, but it doesn't matter for this setup. I ended up taking another short. The numbers for the futures entry are 3,389, and I've already moved my stop to 3,386. Right now the position is up 2%. I moved everything to break even, simply because I have plans to get in, but why did I enter then? Was it because of the head and shoulders on the hourly chart? Honestly, I don't really rely on hourly charts for pattern searching, but in this case, I like this head and shoulders here, so that's why I entered. Basically, that's it. These are the original quotes, and this is how it looks on the futures chart. My entry was here, then I moved my stop to here, so that's what I did. The numbers that we are referring to here are 389 and 386 for the stop. This is specifically for the gas futures, meaning these values are relevant to the futures contracts for natural gas trading on the Moscow exchange. So if there's a slight pullback, I'll close at break even, but actually for the head and shoulders here, the target is tadam, let's measure it. Like this. Well, at the start of the gap closure at 371, so in my opinion it's still relevant. If you use the pattern for the stop, of course if you use the original quotes, then it's here, at the maximum on the right shoulder. So whether you find this interesting or not, that's up to you, but I entered. Alright, if you are ready, let's move on. So, in the medium term, gas, you remember, right? In the medium and long term, gas looks more like a long than a short. Just in case, maybe someone is watching for the first time. Next, let's move on to silver. Well, as I said, I think in the last video about the upcoming correction that you need to wait a bit here before entering. But there was only one candle, Monday was just an intermediate one, and then a new drop down. Once again, you need to buy the first dip, and by the way, there was a shoulder pattern here too, which I didn't show you. It's a bit worse, maybe not quite as nice. On the 4-hour chart, however, it might look a little better. Well, yes, if we remove this small tail here, it looks like this, and like this. The target here is, tada, the fish is at 4646. I'll even mark it here, 4646. Now if you look closely, you can see how the pattern becomes clearer after removing that tail. But at the base, in other words, I'm not planning to chase it again. I need a correction, somewhere at the base above 50, at the base of the head and shoulders, and so on. If we look at it without bias, there's no head and shoulders pattern here. All of this is just my imagination. The first dip should be bought. That is, when there's some trend, the first dip can be bought. A correction, but then the second dip. That's where you can start shorting. That's where you can sell this long position. Here, in this section, you can already go ahead and short on the menu update. And here you can also build channels, just like this, and so on, as needed. So, going back to the topic of silver, if you recall, even here there's no head and shoulders, then the first dip, once again, should be bought. The nearest correction is just above 50, and here you can short with a target of at least 46.46. You can take this profit here. If such a correction happens, I'll enter here. So far it hasn't happened. In our Telegram channel, I shared a double top for gold for free. And I said that a pullback is needed in order to short. It's the same thing, only here it's not a head and shoulders like with silver, but a double top. This is just like in the textbooks, very beautiful. Unlike with silver, but here too, we need to update the high. This correction right here. Without it, it won't work, well, sort of. It could go anywhere at any moment, but as a rule, this sideways movement that forms after the first push, again, that's the same first push you can buy into. After that, at the very least, you need to break through the upper boundary of this sideways range, at the very least, and then immediately reverse. Or there's also this zone here where we could go And just like with silver, you can consider shorts from here. By the way, maybe it's already played out here. Let's check as well. Let's measure it in a rough, makeshift way. Basically, you can allow for almost a 10% margin of error. I don't know whether to use this pattern. Overall, the correction in gold, in my opinion, isn't enough. Ideally, we shouldn't break through with this candle today, but rather next week we should move above 4,170. And then it would be possible to enter there, but if it happens today, it will indicate strength. So that would be risky. In other words, if the candle closes above 4,170 today, it will be a strong signal for the upward movement to continue. So it's better to close in a way like this. Even better if it's a bit lower, but without making a new high. 4,170. Then next week it will be possible to short gold and silver. As for the euro dollar, I have all my nets set up here. Let me remind you, I shorted here, then moved my stop here, and closed out. Right here, at the maximum, there was a double bottom inside. For those who may not have seen it, let me show you. Here it is, look, it's beautiful too. And right here, I moved my stop from here to here, and closed out, took this part. I haven't re-entered here yet, but I'm looking to get back in. Look, I have here. And there's already an alert set which we've almost reached, 1.165. And these slanted lines, like on the chart, are equal to the alert. You can see everything is set right here in this zone, waiting for a reversal. Come here, and this is where I'll be looking to catch it, but it would be unfortunate, of course, if we don't grow up to this point and instead go straight down from here. If a signal forms here, it might be possible to enter right here, because this is my exit point. In principle, I could enter right here and now, and it would be the same as if I hadn't closed the position. I just played it safe in case we... Well, by closing here, I protected myself from a higher rise. But a strategy is a strategy. You have to wait for a signal. If today there's a really heavy sell-off, maybe during the evening session, I'll take a look and go short. But honestly, the probability is low. I want to see it in this zone above 1.166. With Dick, by the way. Just to remind you, I didn't check them last time. Yeah, but here. There would be a nice double bottom. I drew it here. Ali is standing at 9,980. Yeah, just to remind you, it's this huge one. So a breakout, then a correction to the profile. Somewhere into this one, or this one, and even up to there. Higher up. That's it. That's the plan. Let's see what happens with the plan. And as for the dollar-euro, accordingly, here to 1.11. I'd like to see all this and make some money on it. Moving on then to the mass indices. So the American ones took me out. Someone in the chat was saying there was no short, but I got closed out even before the gap. Right here, on this candle. On Friday, actually. Because the prices for S&P and Nasdaq futures on the Moscow exchange are different. And my stop was closed there back on Friday. But that's not the point. So the next steps... Well, right now I have Thursday's low set as my level. I'm closing out a bit earlier because I have plans for the evening. And also, a lot of things could happen, basically, yeah. So, waiting, if we take out Thursday, that is, if there's a red candle and we close everything lower, then it will be possible to short again. To try, in other words. But that's just for today. So, if we go up today, especially if we update the lows, that's it. Forget about any shorts? Absolutely not. We should have reversed right from here, if it were by the book. That is, we buy the first dip again, then a correction, and a reversal. It should keep making new lows. That didn't happen, so that's it. We wait for new signals. That's all from me, friends. I wish you all good profits and a great mood. Take care of yourselves. Bye.